Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the second installment of the Kenny Wallace Show. We think we're a little better this time, a little more organized, but always give us your feedback. This is new to us. And once again, my producer, the man that keeps me calm, Charlie Marlowe. Charlie, how are you doing on this Monday?
Kenny, I'm doing great. Great to see you as always. So let's talk about Dover, the Monster Mile. You had this cup race that was postponed due to rain. It's always nice when you have a lunchtime race. Just finished here. A pretty exciting finish with Chase Elliott winning. And now all four Hendrick Motorsports drivers have already won this season. What did you think of the race at the Monster Mile?
It was a great race, a lot of big storylines. Number one, Chase Elliott. He said in victory lane that this victory meant a lot to him for a lot of reasons. You know, I really believe the reason, without Chase telling us right now, I would think it's because he's the last Hendrick driver to win. You know, there's a lot of pressure. You know, when you see your teammates winning and getting it done with this new car, there's always that question in the back of a race car driver's mind or any athlete. Hey, you know, this car's new. You know, is it me? How come I haven't won? My teammates have won. So I think this was a big breakthrough, a big positive mental attitude boost for Chase Elliott. And there's no doubt, you know, Hendrick is now flying high with, you know, all their drivers have won. A matter of fact, Hendrick Motorsports sits on top of all the charts. So congratulations to Chase Elliott. He's got a lot of fans. I know all the girls out there are excited. They all want to marry him, Charlie. Chase is not married yet, but a big win by Hendrick.
So lots of loose cars in the corners, some spinouts. Kyle Larson, who then came back and finished pretty strong. But what do you think was happening in the corners here today?
So this is a case of that new car. This is the first time this new car has been to Dover. These drivers have that feel of the old car. I've raced at Dover a lot, and let me give you all the sensation. We call it the roller coaster racetrack. The straightaways are up. So you go down these straightaways, you're going, you know, past the start finish line, and you go down into turn one. You come up out of the corner. When you come up out of the corner, it's like a roller coaster. All of a sudden, you feel like you're going to lift and you get real light. And actually, the car does get light. And it bit one of our greatest race car drivers now of all time, Chase Elliott. You know, he seemed to have a good feel, which took him to victory lane, but it was Kyle Larson that lost the car. That was the first big caution that made everybody go, oh, you know, and then you had the number 51 of Ware. He spun out right in front of Denny Hamlin. He collected Denny Hamlin. You saw the same thing off of turn 2 with the number 8 of Tyler Reddick. There was a lot of close quarters, but I really believe the reason we saw a lot of these cars loose coming up out of the corner, this track is naturally like that, but this new car, remember, everything's new. That's why the TV ratings are so high, Charlie. We're all watching. And it was exciting. You didn't know who was going to spin out next.
All right, so you mentioned Denny Hamlin. We were talking about him last week with the whole meme and all that. So in this race, loses a wheel. So his crew chief, he loses the crew chief for 4 races. That seems like a pretty stiff penalty. Is that too harsh, do you think?
So, you know, here's my disclaimer, right? The rules are the rules. We all got to abide by the rules. Now, these rules were put in place years ago when we had the old wheel, had 5 studs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now it's a new year. It's a new era. These teams and drivers are still getting used to this new wheel and tire with 1 lug nut. So the rule is the rule. Denny Hamlin, obviously, is going to lose his crew chief for 4 races. Now, people say, why is the penalty so stiff? We've hurt people in the grandstands is why. When you lose the wheel, it goes flying in the grandstands, and it can hurt people. It's a big insurance deal it goes much deeper than, hey, you lost your wheel. A wheel becomes a very dangerous flying object. So NASCAR said, we're going to cut that off right now. You teams are going to make sure you get these tires and wheels on because we don't want to hear it from our insurance adjusters. Why did you kill somebody in the grandstands because your wheel came off? So that's really where this harsh penalty stems from. Okay, so that's the disclaimer. Now, my opinion. My opinion is it is the team's fault. I've watched a replay over and over. It was it's the jack man's duty. He's in control of the orchestra. He's the one that makes the band start, stop. The jack man jacks the car up. They get the wheel off. And when the jack man drops the car, that's when Denny goes. And the jack man did not realize that the rear tire man was not done. You can see in the video, you can see the rear tire man banging on the door feverishly. No. Then he gets about 20 car lengths away, and actually his left rear wheel comes off and almost passes him. And then, of course, it's like a snowball effect. Denny's day gets worse. The 51, the Ware car, spins out in front of him. Denny gets into him a little bit, but he's still okay, but hard to recover. So I'm mixed emotions on this, Charlie. I know rules are rules, but this is a whole new deal. It almost seems to me like if your wheel comes off on pit road, slap on the wrist. Wheel comes off on the racetrack, lose your crew chief. I'd like to see an audible be called. My opinion on the new, loose wheel. If you lose a wheel on pit road in this first year with this new deal, I know we're professionals. I know NASCAR is going to argue with me. They're going to say, Kenny, we're the professionals. But listen, I've been racing my whole life. I know. So loose wheel on pit road. The team has already penalized themselves, Charlie, right? Denny Hamlin loses a wheel. Now he's not the leader of the race anymore, which he was. He won the first stage. Now he's got to come back in pit road. The team penalized themselves. Okay, that's it, penalty. And maybe if NASCAR wants to throw a penalty in there, whatever. But now to lose your crew chief for 4 races, I think it's too stiff. So once again, let's clear cut this. Lose your wheel on pit road. You've already penalized yourself. If NASCAR wants to throw the wheel in there, let's do it. If you lose your wheel on the racetrack, I'll agree with the losing your crew chief. So everybody's on social media talking about it. It's the big talk. The penalty's too stiff. So I've just addressed it. That's my opinion.
All right, Herm, how about some other drivers that impressed you today? Ricky Stenhouse Jr. finishes second. You had Kyle Busch, who ran really well, led a bunch of laps, kind of had the pit stop at the unfortunate time, still finished 7th, though.
Yeah, let's talk about the drivers that showed up. Ricky Stenhouse, love this kid. He's a dirt racer, good friend of mine, easy to talk to. Everybody in the garage area loves Ricky. Ricky finally showed up today, finished second. Great run with the new car. Remember, I can't express enough how the new car is messing with these drivers' minds. Can I drive this new car? Is it me? Is it the team? So Ricky Stenhouse does great. Then you look at Buescher. He shows up, finishes 8th. So to me, those two stand out, but I'd also like to give a shout out to Justin Haley. Justin led some laps at a very difficult track. So once again, Charlie, week after week, we're all going, whoa, we're seeing these drivers show up that didn't show up in the old car last year. Truly believe that this new car is an equalizer, as we see. Ross Chastain, look at Ross Chastain. 2 wins on the year, Circuit of Americas, and then the last race that I forgot about, the last race he won, but he just got done winning the big race, Talladega. Man, these weeks are rolling, Charlie. And then, he finishes 3rd. So Ross Chastain's got 2 wins and a 3rd. I think it's official. Ross Chastain is the real deal. So shout out to all those drivers that didn't show up last year, and now they're becoming superstars this year.
So speaking of Ross Chastain, as I'm watching that finish, and then you could tell that he and Martin Truex obviously had a couple of words there after the race was over. What'd you think of that move? Because it seemed like, they're racing for third, and I get it. I mean, was the risk worth the reward there for Martin Truex to do what he did?
I really feel like these drivers are being caught off guard with this new car. It falls underneath the circumstances of, hey, with the old car, I had all this different feeling and I knew exactly what to do. Now what's going on, Charlie, is we're seeing it. Guys are trying to take, and body slam a little bit, and all of a sudden, whoa, this car does a different deal. So, to wreck somebody nowadays or to move them, it takes a little different driving technique with this new car. And I think that's what we saw there.
All right, Kenny. So we talked a lot of Cup there, Dover, Monster Mile. Now we got to talk about you, because I was following you, of course, on social media, and it seemed like racing this past weekend in Illinois that you were pretty dang fast. What, you set the fastest lap on Friday. You won on Sunday. Tell us about your dirt racing this past weekend.
Well, I appreciate you bringing it up, Charlie. So yeah, we're still racing hard. We're right there with the most races run this year in my dirt modified. Friday, we had weather pending all over. We looked at the radar and we said, well, we think it's going to clear up. We're going to be all right. Sure enough, we went up to Farmer City, Illinois. Track conditions were perfect. And I've been working hard on my chassis setup, and we set a new track record. And what that means is, in the history of that racetrack, since that racetrack was ever built, we set the quickest time for a dirt modified, UMP modified, and but got my butt kicked in the big race, finished second to a kid named Jeffrey Lefford, young 19-year-old kid, really good, but I wasn't embarrassed. It was a great Friday. Saturday, everything got rained out everywhere, nowhere to race. But Sunday, we went up to Quincy, Illinois, a track that's been shut down for 2 or 3 years, and put another new chassis setup in it, very slippery track, and qualified second, won my heat, and then won the race. So, hey, new track record, a first and a second. We rolled back into Arnold, Missouri last night around 12:30, and all is good.
And I saw another gentleman posted a clip where you were there on the microphone and you were talking to the crowd about how important it is when somebody tries and does bring a track back from the dead. I think you said how important it is for the local racers like yourself and other folks to get out there and support that track.
So that falls underneath our 7-time champion, Mike Harrison. He is the 7-time dirt modified champion. And he tells me all the time, he looks at me, he goes, Herm, you're good for the sport. And Charlie, I take that as a responsibility. So, let's face it, I ran NASCAR my whole life. I don't think I'm anything. But when I go to these tracks, these guys that are really good, like a Mike Harrison or any of these drivers, when they feel good and they want to talk to me, they'll tell me. And so I take that responsibility and I run with it. And so they asked me to talk on the microphone during intermission. And I said, hey, thank you, fans, for showing up. I called out all the drivers. I said, thank all the drivers. And everybody needs to come up to Quincy, Illinois on Sundays. They start early, got over at 9 o'clock. And, these racetracks, we don't want them closing, Charlie. We want them to stay open. And it was a good crowd, big car count. And it was a great Sunday. So I take my responsibility for dirt racing. I want to promote it. I want it to do better. And so that's what that little talk was all about.
Well, Herm, again, congrats on the great weekend of racing for you. Good stuff here talking about Dover. And remember, for folks listening right here or watching, obviously, that we're going to do the questions for Kenny coming up later this week. So if you want to respond in the comments and you have a question for Kenny, we will ask Kenny those and record that video later this week. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, please give us a thumbs up, like, comment, and subscribe. Good stuff as always, sir.
Charlie, I think we got a little momentum now. We're on a roll. We're going to be doing this after every NASCAR race on Sundays or Mondays. you're working, I'm working. So Sunday night or Monday night, but I'm looking forward to our all new Wednesday night Answer the Fans. So like you said, I'm really excited. All the fans ask me or Charlie. Charlie's loaded with sports knowledge. So Charlie, I want the fans to ask you questions too. You know about everything in sports. I'm a big fan of yours. So Charlie, it can be anything. Let's talk, sports, and let's talk racing. And I answer all the questions. But I will say, everybody, that Charlie is going to bring up the questions, and I've already directed him to give me the most difficult questions because those are the ones I like to answer. So we'll do that on Wednesday night.
Awesome. I can't wait. Maybe I'll even throw in some algebra questions from 8th grade and see if we still know our math.
I only went 1 through 12, Charlie.
Awesome,
All right,
Kenny.
buddy.
Can't wait. See ya.